All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Super excited for this particular webinar today. We're going to be unpacking what I believe is the biggest marketing challenge in our industry. And I'm going to give you 5 action steps to take at the end of this webinar. So my webinars are very different than most. These are actually teaching webinars. And I've done tons of masterminds and group trainings and things like that, where they specifically say you don't teach on the webinar. You're supposed to be selling on the webinar. And I truly believe that if we help others get what they want in this life, we can get what we want as well. So these webinars are not me trying to pitch you something. This is me teaching and hopefully you executing on those 5 different action steps that we will have. Okay. Hello, Miss Naomi. Hello, Mr. Richard, Mr. Dan. Thank you so much. We've got Maya Edge's social media guru, Shelby, on. Always puts a smile on my face when, the pros hop on to here, which is awesome. Okay. Clarissa, your setup is sick, by the way. Love the mic. Looks super sharp. I've got this, mic here. I never use it. I just love my AirPods so much, but I know how clear it can be with the next level mic. So awesome. Okay, guys, cool. Do me a favor. This is an interactive webinar, right? I do these for free, but it's so much more fun if you interact. Just drop in the comments. Let's do what city that you're in. Okay, so just get in that chat box. This is me trying to train you to get in that chat box, which just makes this so much more fun. Charisse, I got my trainer. You guys notice anything lately? Am I looking a little bit different? Charisse is my fitness trainer. She is launching a little bit better here. Yeah, Mr. McGraw, not bad, right? She's been kicking my butt for the last 4 months, and she's launching an online fitness training tool. So that's pretty cool. We got somebody not in the martial arts on here, but marketing is marketing, right? Whether it's for fitness, martial arts, a lemonade stand, or a dance studio. Okay, grab your pens, grab your note-taking devices, whatever that's going to be. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. We're going to dive in. I will. Miss Paulo says lean and mean. Thank you. Somebody called me skinny the other day, and I was like, I don't know if that's really a compliment. I was going for strong, but thanks. I will open it up Q&A at the end for any particular questions on this or just in general in regards to marketing. And let me show you guys something real quick. I'll be right back. I just got this. It's ginormous. Does anybody want to take a guess what's in this box right here? Anybody know? Anybody see my post? Boom, my brand new marketing book called The Best Known Dojo, a marketing book for martial arts schools. Just got it. It's going on sale on Thursday. So if you like my teaching style and you want to learn more about marketing, got this book here for you guys. Super pumped about that. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Boom. Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? You guys see my screen? We good over there? Okay, awesome. And we got just some late bloomers coming in here. Biggest marketing challenge facing the martial arts industry. If you don't know me, my name's Chris Rodriguez. I've got a ton of businesses, and I'm about to launch another business, which some people are saying I'm crazy, but it's just so much fun. I own GrowPro Agency, digital marketing agency, specifically for martial arts schools. We run Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, YouTube ads, social media management, database reactivation, which we're going to be talking a lot about database reactivation today. I am the head of Martial Arts Entrepreneurs. I work for Maya as their digital marketing consultant, and I'm a school owner, just like many of you. I own a BJJ and MMA school in Tampa, Florida. Very fortunate to have a rock star team that runs it for me. I'm an offsite owner. I go into the school once a week on Fridays to teach a couple of my master's classes. And it allows me to focus on other passions that I have as well. Okay. So what are the biggest challenges when it comes to marketing? Well, I've talked to a lot of you. I've talked to thousands of martial arts schools, and this is what I hear. Okay. So this is what I hear over and over again. Well, I don't have enough leads, right? Like, well, if you're only getting 5 or 10 leads a month, that's not necessarily, unless you're at 100% conversion rate, going to be enough lines out in the ocean, enough opportunities for you to grow your school. So I hear that all the time. There's not enough leads, right? The other thing that I'll hear is low lead quality. And Tim Salazar, who used to work for 97 Display. Anybody have a 97 Display website? Go into the chat and say, maybe 97 or yes. He recently just stepped down, but he had put a post out probably about a couple of months ago that basically said there's no such thing as a bad lead, just a lead that's not ready to convert yet. Now, if you're in Tampa and a lead comes in from Orlando, that's not a viable lead, right? That is a low lead quality lead. But we do have to understand the customer journey and the difference between intent-based marketing and interest-based marketing, which I'm going to unpack for you. But I hear this often, right? Low lead quality. And my thought is like, well, this person saw your ad, they went in, they put their information and they hit enter. Now, some of these people, has anybody ever done like wine and prime, where you drink a little bit of wine on a Friday or Saturday night and you go on Amazon Prime and you start ordering stuff? That's like a thing, right? Wine and prime. But typically this person does want more information. It just might not be that they're ready to purchase yet. Okay. Another challenge, lead cost too high. And guys, this is one that we're really at the forefront on right now. So this is not, back in the good old days of Facebook where, you could be getting $2, $4, $5 leads. Some people can still get that, but overall, we've seen an increase in the cost of leads. Why is that? Okay, well, the one thing that happened in 2020, right? We're all a part of that with our schools, is really businesses almost jumped like 3, 4, or 5 years ahead in regards to getting their business online because they didn't have a choice, right? Like there were a lot of martial arts schools that ended up closing their doors because they refused to evolve in 2020. I heard school owners and instructors say, I'm not teaching on Zoom. That's not real martial arts. Well, for many of them, they ended up shutting their doors. Those of us that did pivot, those of us that did take advantage of Zoom classes and really bringing our business online are the ones that are still here. Well, guess what? We're not the only industry that had to pivot that way. Pretty much every industry had to pivot and get online. So are there more businesses utilizing online services and advertising in 2021 because of the pandemic? The answer is yes. It's a resounding yes. Okay. We really fast forwarded in regards to utilizing technology for many businesses many years. So if more people are on the platform, more businesses are on the platform, and there's more advertisers, supply and demand, prices go up. And Facebook recently put out an article stating that as of today, compared to 2020, Facebook ad costs have risen 47%. Okay. So if you're getting like $10 leads, you're looking at $15 leads. And that's not 100% across the board. But for most people, it is more expensive to advertise online today than it was a year ago, than it was 3 years ago, 5 years ago. It's just kind of how life works, right? With supply and demand. Okay. The other thing would be, another challenge that I hear is lack of clear tracking for ROI, right? Like if you're running ads, but you don't know how to track those leads that are coming in, you don't necessarily know if, your money is being spent where it needs to be spent. Okay. So and lastly, just a lot of options, right? There are a lot of options. And one of the things that I learned from Mr. Metzger, our lead consultant at Maya, is you always get a minimum of 3 options, whether that's your air conditioning unit went out and you need to get somebody to fix your AC unit, Or you're looking at a marketing company. Look at 3 of them and then compare and contrast. But I know, because I'm in this marketing world, so every time I go on Facebook, I see a new marketing company pop up. All right. My suggestion, check out 3 of them, do a discovery call, see who is in line with your own values, and then make a decision from there. But it can be overwhelming because there are a lot of options. Okay. If lead flow really is your problem, which I believe for most people it's not a problem, but if it truly is, like if you are that example of getting like 5 leads a month, yeah, you have a lead flow problem. Just curious, let's do this in the chat. On average, because it changes, right? I mean, there's ebbs and flows in every industry. On average, if you have multiple schools, just pick one of your schools. How many leads are you averaging a month? Put that in the chat box for me. How many leads, which is a name, email, and phone number, are you averaging a month? Mr. Miller, 100. Master Beatty, 100. Miss Campagnoli, 80 to 100. I'd also like to point out that Mr. Miller and Mr. Beatty are GoPro clients. I got to drop that in there. Mr. Timmerman, 150. Miss Van Dusen, 60. Master Bolt, 60. Okay, those are like pretty solid lead numbers, right? For some of you that maybe you're only getting a handful, you might be looking at those numbers and be like, that is crazy. That is intense. That's a lot of leads, okay? They don't have lead flow problems. If you're only getting 5 to 10 leads, you have a lead flow problem. And what you need to do is you've got to become omnipresent. To get the maximum flow of calls and leads and profitability in your martial arts school, you got to be everywhere, guys. And yeah, it takes effort. All right. But who said being successful was supposed to be easy? I don't know any quotes that say being successful is supposed to be easy. If you are struggling with this, right? If you truly have a lead flow issue, you've got to use my 7 levels of marketing. I have this free download. I recently did a webinar on this that you can grab on our website as well. But I have this PDF that breaks down the 7 levels of marketing. Most of you, if you've been following me for a while, you've heard this. You can get this guide for free. Go to growproagency.com. It's a lead magnet. You'll put your name and email. And there's even a webinar at the bottom if you want to go to the webinar as well. So if you truly have a lead flow, that's where you need to start. But I believe that that is not the number one issue in marketing and not the number one challenge. I'm not sharing my screen, am I? You guys are looking at me and you can't see my screen being shown. I was showing you all these really cool graphics. Oh, there we go. Now you can see my screen. So if you really do have a lead flow issue, check out the 7 levels of marketing. It's a PDF download, growproagency.com, or you can watch the webinar, okay? You need to be wherever your prospects are. When they go on Facebook, they see you. When they go on Instagram, they see you. They go on YouTube, they see your channel. When they look through their texts, oh, I've got a text from Gracie Pack MMA. When they look at their phone log, oh, there's a missed call from Gracie Pack MMA. When they check their email, when they check their mailbox, when they're just looking at their iPhone, you can have an app. When they're going to local businesses, your rat cards are inside. When they go to the fall festival, there's your booth. This is what being omnipresent means. And yes, doing all of that is a lot. So you start with 1, right? You start with 1. You start at white belt. And then once you get 1 in, then you go to the next one. Now you're graduating to yellow belt and you put the next line out in the ocean, okay? But in my opinion, the biggest challenge that we are facing as school owners are unconverted leads. Chris, I got 100 leads, only 50 of them booked appointments. For some people, you might say only 50, that's a lot of appointments. For some of these schools that are doing 150 leads, well, 50 appointments out of 150 leads isn't necessarily the absolute best conversion rate, which is, I'm going to break that down for you. We're going pen to paper with math, okay? So this issue of unconverted leads, this is the challenge right here. Inbound leads aren't immediately followed up with, okay? Sometimes we'll get on a call with a GrowPro client and, we have automations that go out when a lead comes in, they get a text message, they get an email, they get a voicemail drop if they have that set up. And we go and we look because we can actually see how many times they've called, how many texts have gone out, and how many emails have gone out. And I was actually on a call with a GrowPro client. Program director was in charge of this, and the two school owners, which were very much hands off. And they had about 40 leads that month and hadn't converted any of them. So we went in and I shared the screen and I said, well, did you call any of these leads? And she said, no. And that was kind of like major issue number one. Now, most of us do prefer text messaging. However, you need to hit every avenue that you can, because not everybody prefers text messaging. Some people are going to pick up the phone. But if your inbound leads aren't immediately followed up with, they're going to go cold, okay? Web forms will not convert if you don't have consistent follow-up, right? Consistency, usually the missing ingredient if you are not where you want to be in any area of your life. And team members not knowing where the prospect is in the customer journey. So I just showed you guys my first book that's published. I've already started working on my second book, which is called The Customer Journey. This is something I am super, super passionate about, and we're going to break that down, okay? If your leads are not followed up within 15 minutes, they go cold. You get ghosted. That's the term that we use, right? You'll get ghosted. The average customer must be followed up with 5 to 7 times before booking. 5 to 7 times? Yes. And there's even, data points out there and articles that suggest that it can take up to 30 plus touch points before somebody pulls the trigger. And this really is dependent on where these leads come from, okay? Also, today's consumer prefers to interact via text versus phone call or email. That doesn't mean you don't send a call or send an email. You need to do all of them. And ideally, we want to be able to utilize picture text messages and have that being automated, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, okay? So what's the solution? If those are the issues, what's the solution? You need to leverage marketing automation, but you cannot solely rely on it, all right? How many of you know when you're talking to an automation, right? Like it's pretty obvious that, okay, this is an automated text response. And especially if you hit enter to opt in and you get an immediate text message, right? It's like, okay, we've all been conditioned that we know that is an automation. Does anybody truly enjoy speaking to automations, or would you prefer speaking to a human? Right? I know I want to rip my hair out when I call Bank of America and I'm talking to 17 different robots and have to press 22 different numbers before I can just talk to somebody. Okay. So yes, leverage marketing automation because it's great when you're not in the office, right? If somebody's not able to call or text or email, but you shouldn't solely depend on it. Okay. 50% of leads go with the vendor that responds first. Money loves what, guys? Speed. All right. Money loves speed. So we want to make sure that if they're checking us out and they're also checking our competitors out, that we are first at bat. Okay. So leverage the marketing automation, but don't rely on the marketing automation solely. Okay. Also, it's not just one automation, one text, one call, one email. It has to be consistent. And in your 5 action steps, I'm going to show you exactly how to make this consistent. And ideally, we want to make the follow-up authentic, okay? We utilize a CRM called High Level for our GrowPro clients. And we basically have these snapshots that we load into their account that have pre-written automations. But we let our clients know that if you want to edit any of those automations, right? Maybe there's certain lingo that you use in your school. Maybe you're in a certain area that uses certain lingo. Maybe you like the hands up emoji better than the fist bump emoji, whatever that is, right? Whatever the way that you communicate is, we want to try to make those automations at least feel authentic and feel like the person that is following up with them is the actual person that they're speaking to. All right. Kind of a funny story. So I was testing out a personal assistant in regards to responding to social media messages and comments. And it lasted less than a day because the way that they were responding was just not the way that I speak, right? Like they were using the number 2 instead of writing out TO. And people that you communicate with often are going to be able to tell. My mentor, his name's Josh Nelson, and he has a personal assistant that was responding to Facebook messages that I was sending as well as emails. And I went to Josh, and this is not a cheap program. It's $2,200 a month to be a part of this mastermind. That's a considerable amount of money, right? And I went to Josh and I was like, listen, man, I signed up because I want you. I don't want your VA that lives in the Philippines to respond to my questions. And he completely understood it. So now when he's responding, he always puts at the end the real Josh. So I know that I'm actually speaking to him. All right. So we want to try to make it as authentic as possible. And again, the point that I'm trying to drive home here is yes, leverage the automations, but don't rely on the automations. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between intent-based marketing, which is where you would have like Google, versus interest-based marketing, which is more Facebook. Okay. If I want to, order a pizza for lunch, am I going on Facebook to order that pizza? Or if I'm in a new city and I want to have a nice steak dinner, okay, now I'm on the East Coast and Yelp is not nearly as big as it is in California, because a lot of Californians would tell me, well, they would go on Yelp. I hate Yelp. I deleted it from my phone after, getting, tons and tons of emails from Yelp asking me to advertise, and Yelp does not display all of your reviews, which is really frustrating. I've kind of written them off. But I know if you're on the West Coast, Yelp is kind of a big deal, especially looking for restaurants. But here in Florida, if I was looking for a pizza shop, I'm not going on Facebook. I'm going on Google, right? I'm riding my bicycle gears break. I need to get my bicycle fixed. I'm not going on Facebook. I'm going on Google. I have an intent, okay? When a parent gets to a certain level, whether their child is misbehaving in school, or they got bullied in school, or they have to tell their child 37 times to put their sneakers on to get outside the front door, right? They're looking for more discipline and focus. They have an intent. They are ready to sign up for martial arts. They go to Google, okay? Facebook, why do we go on Facebook? You guys tell me in the comments, besides the fact that you're a business owner, right? Because if I wasn't a business owner, I'm not 100% sure I would even be on social media. So why do you go on Facebook besides utilizing it for your business? All right, Master Bolts, thank you for participating, sir. He says, see what happens. Miss Palos, stay in touch with friends. Master Perarian, hope I didn't butcher that too bad. Community, build relationships, family posting. Yes, 100%, Mr. McGraw. Okay, that's why people are going on Facebook. None of you typed because you wanted to search for a business. None of you typed because you wanted to see advertising. What we're doing with Facebook is we're planting the seed. We're planting that seed with people that don't know anything about us. And we're also able to retarget people that have requested previous information. So if we're planting the seed, that is really your future buyers. Whereas Google, if somebody typed in martial arts in Tampa, Florida, they are further along that customer journey, which is what you would call today buyers. So what do you need? Do you need today buyers or do you need future buyers? You need both, guys. Okay, you need both. How many of you were happy the other day when Facebook was shut down, like 2 Mondays ago? Was anybody? Shelby was like, yeah, my entire office couldn't do anything. Like an ads manager was completely down, right? Some people were like, man, I wish that happened more often. Other people were freaking out. Well, imagine if that did last more than a day. I mean, it didn't even last a full 24 hours. What if that lasted 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, a week? We'd probably all be a lot happier, right? But what if you were running Facebook ads? Would you be able to utilize that as a marketing strategy? No. Which is why it can't be your only one, and which is why building your email list is so important. I put a post out like right at 7:30 last Monday when this whole fiasco happened about the importance of building your email list, because it's the only thing that you own, right? So if you get a lead that comes in that doesn't necessarily immediately convert, I don't look at that as a waste, because I have email and SMS marketing as a part of our marketing strategy that we do on a monthly basis. So they're going to continue to get those touch points. And when they are ready, who are they going to think of first? They're going to think of us, because we're in their mental Rolodex, because we've been in their inbox. We've been on their cell phones. Okay. So you just got to understand the difference between intent-based marketing and interest-based marketing. And, you might look at that and be like, oh, well, then I'm just going to advertise on Google. Well, the benefit of advertising on Facebook is now you can be introducing the world of martial arts to people that maybe never even really considered it as an option. Okay. The customer journey. I have this really, really cool graphic here, and you guys will get all of these slides. We always send it out in the replay link with the Google Drive link. But this is really important to understand when you are looking at your leads. Okay, there's 6 stages: awareness, consideration, purchase, onboarding, retention, and advocacy. And I would argue that all of us, our goal is to try to take a student from awareness all the way to advocacy, right? We all have those families that are like walking billboards for us. We call them brand ambassadors in our school. I think that's the ultimate goal, right? To get them to that advocacy stage. But when that lead comes in, okay, they go from awareness to consideration. And some people will stay in that consideration stage for a minute, a couple of minutes. They'll immediately book an appointment, which allows us to move them to purchase. And other people will stay in that consideration stage for weeks, if not months. Okay. So this is what this customer journey looks like. And again, you're going to get a copy of this: the awareness, consideration, purchase, onboarding, retention, and advocacy. But let me give you an example that recently just occurred. So I don't like wearing women's clothing. I just don't. I never did. My mom forced me to wear dresses when I was a kid. It was miserable. I would wait until everybody, I would like count down the minutes until Christmas dinner was done so I could go and put some Umbro shorts on, right? I was like, I just didn't like wearing a dress. And it's not because I want to be a boy. I just don't like women's clothing. That's just me. I don't like the way that they feel, right? So I've had a really hard time finding swim trunks, right? Swim trunks on the bottom, because all of the men's swim trunks go like all the way past my knees. Most of you know I'm vertically challenged, okay? So my 19-year-old son, he does a lot of lifting, and he's starting to like the look of his legs. So he's starting to wear a little shorter shorts, right? Like just to kind of show his legs off. And he had a pair of shorts, and I was like, man, I really like those. I like the length on them. And I was like, what are they? And he said, they're called Chubbies. I said, okay, let me check them out. So I go on there and I'm looking for the swim shorts, and I see a bunch of them, but like, I'm not swimming right this second. I don't really need it right now. And then 2 weekends ago, my wife and I, we go down to Clearwater Beach, and we're at the beach. So guess what's front and center now? Oh, I really want those swim trunks. So what did I do? I went online and I bought the swim trunks. Wish I would have thought of that before the vacation, right? But I knew about this company for months. I was just not in that consideration phase just yet. I knew they existed, but I wasn't in that consideration phase. And that's why, guys, when you get a lead that doesn't immediately convert, don't write it off, because database reactivation is going to be your friend, okay? So there's no such thing as a bad lead, just a lead that isn't ready yet to convert. The other thing I would like you just to kind of think of an analogy is imagine we are back in the gold rush prospecting days, right? We're all heading over to the West. We heard there's a bunch of gold. We're going to make it rich. Do you or would you want to sift through just a bucket of gold, or would you want a dump truck of gold? Yes, going through the dump truck of gold or the dump truck of dirt is going to be more time consuming. It's going to require more effort and more energy. but it has the potential for a bigger payoff. Okay. And this is like an example. Mr. Miller's on here. I believe the last time we talked, he had about 10,000 contacts on his email list. That's a solid amount of contacts. Okay, guys? 10,000 people at some point have requested information from him. That's the dump truck. Would you rather have 300 or would you rather have 10,000? So now when he wants to do a special Halloween spooktacular special, he has 10,000 people he can blast that out to, as opposed to just having maybe 200 or 300. And this is why you always have to be growing your email list. It's the only thing that you own. Google and Facebook can say, hey, if you want to advertise, you got to have a minimum budget of $2,000. You do not own those platforms. You do own your email list, okay? So here's a question I get all the time. Chris, I got a lead. I followed up. When do I stop following up? What's the answer to this, guys? What's the answer? When do you stop following up with a lead? Mr. McGraw says never. Let's see. Master Bolt says when they opt out. Mr. Miller, yes, when they tell me to stop. Exactly. All right. If they opt out, they're automatically no longer going to get your communications. If they tell you to stop, Mr. DePena, when they ask you to, that's when you stop. That's it. You have to have consistent follow-up. If you ask my personal trainer, Charisse, that's on here, what's probably the number one thing that stops people from weight loss? It's consistency. It's like, oh, I ate a salad for 3 days in a row, but I still look the same. That's all it is. It's just consistency. Okay. So when do you stop following up? When they tell you to stop. So let's talk about database reactivation. Okay. This is I want to call it a newer form of marketing because it's been around for a while, but I think, this kind of nomenclature is a little bit newer, calling it database reactivation. So what is it? Database reactivation converts dormant contacts into paying customers. Regardless of the industry, almost all businesses can generate repeat business, okay? So there are different types of database reactivation that you can do. I've talked about this many times. We call it the magic email. This is something that we teach in Maya. And it's just a simple email. It can also be utilized as a text message. And all the email says is, are you still interested in martial arts? Okay. If Mr. Miller blasted that out to 10,000 people, which how long would that take to craft an email that says, are you still interested in martial arts? 5 minutes max, right? If you had to turn the computer on, okay? So something like this is what we would consider database reactivation. And he's going to have people that would respond and say no. He's going to have people that opt out, but he's also going to have people that say yes. My recommendation would be a minimum of twice a year doing this. Now, you need to do it when you have the ability to take an influx of new students on. So if your appointment book is slammed for the next 3 weeks, that's not necessarily a good time to do this. But a minimum of twice a year, you need to send out this magic email. That is an example of the database reactivation strategy. Another example would be utilizing the holidays to disguise the repetition of your marketing, right? The best instructors disguise repetition. We know a student needs to do something 10,000 times to become proficient at it, okay? You tell them to do 10,000 round kicks in a row, you're not going to have many students on the mat, okay? So great instructors disguise repetition. Great marketers disguise their marketing utilizing the holidays. So for those of you that have considerable sized lists, you need to put together database reactivation campaigns, which means multiple emails and multiple text messages that go out and utilize the holiday to disguise the repetition of your marketing. All of us have a great opportunity for our kids' programs in regards to a promotional offer in the next couple of weeks because of Halloween. Don't miss that boat, all right? So we're going to switch gears here a little bit. And this is one of my most favorite things that I say, math is the path. And we're going to do a little bit of math. All right. I got 46 people on. I better not see anybody jump off because I said the word math. All right. You got to know these numbers, guys. So I want to talk about conversion rates. Okay. The average industry conversion. So Market Muscles did a survey and surveyed hundreds and hundreds of schools and found that on average, schools were converting at 30% from lead to the actual close. Not lead to appointment or appointment to show, but from the lead to the actual close, 30%. So if they got 30 leads and they were able to convert that at 30%, that would give them 8 closes by the end of the month. Okay, now, if you are not tracking the number of leads, appointments, shows, and closes, it's going to be very difficult for you to see where the hole in your bucket is. Okay, in my opinion, these are the numbers that you should be aiming for. From lead to appointment, you need to be booking 50 to 60%. Why do I say 50 to 60? Because it really depends on where that lead came from. Let me ask you, would you rather have a lead that came to you by referral of one of your students, or would you rather have a Facebook lead? Referral all day, every day, right? It's just a higher quality lead. So that's why I say 50 to 60% in there, okay? Same thing, if you go to a festival and you have a booth and you have an attractor that gets them to the booth, right? You have time, you have that FaceTime, that one-on-one time, that building rapport. Those leads are going to be more solid than a Facebook lead, okay? So 50 to 60% is what you should be aiming for in regards to booking the appointment. In regards to showing up, if you have a free offer, you need to be aiming for 70%, okay? Now, you see this discussion happen all the time in the martial arts Facebook groups. What's your offer, okay? I recently interviewed Donovan Ryder. He owns 4 schools, and asked him about his offer. He flat out said in the podcast, my 7-Figure CEO podcast, he goes, any offer can work. You've just got to find the one that works for you. All right. And you'll see in these Facebook groups, somebody will put, what's your offer? And you'll have like 100 comments, and they're all different, right? Oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. Any offer can work. You've just got to figure out the one that works for you. Now, when you have a free offer, do you have a higher potential of getting less people to show up for their appointment? Yes, it's free. Okay. If you only do a paid offer, meaning we're not booking an appointment unless you hand over some dollars, then your show rate is going to be higher than 70% because that person has skin in the game. Okay. But for most people, they offer some type of free intro, free class, free group intro. You want to be aiming for a 70% show rate. And then from the 70% that shows, 80% should be what you're aiming for to close. Okay. So let's do some math here. All right. Can you guys see my really cool iPad right now? That's pretty neat, right? Gotta love technology. So number of leads. Let's use like not some crazy amount of leads, right? We saw Mr. Miller getting 100 leads, Mr. Beatty getting 100 leads, Master Bolt's getting 60 to 70 leads. Let's just use 30. That would be a lead a day. I don't think that that's an astronomical amount. I know for some of you, you would be really upset if you only got 30 leads. Other people would be super stoked if they got 30 leads, right? So let's just say school number 1 brings in 30 leads, okay? If their conversion rate is the industry standard, which is 30%, and standard just means average. How many of you want to be average? I have this conversation with my teenage sons all the time. Do you want to be average? I don't want to be average, okay? So let's just say that that's the average, 30%. We know that that's not where we want it. We're going to use it for the example. So if I have 30 leads and I convert from lead all the way to close at 30%, that's going to give me 9 new students. Hey, that could be a pretty solid month for some schools, depending on your business model, right? So if I take my 30 leads, I times it by that 30%, that's going to give me those 9 new students. On average in our industry, schools charge $150. Some schools charge 200, some schools charge 100, right? So we'll just use the average 150. 9 students at $150 is going to increase your billing by $1,350. We're trying to keep this simple. I'm not including down payments or paid in fulls or anything like that, okay? So if you follow the Maya model, which hopefully you do, if you don't, check out Maya Foundations, you should be doing a minimum of a 12-month agreement, okay? That's what we recommend, 12-month agreement. So if I took that $1,350 and I times it by 12 months, that has the potential to bring in $16,200. And this is what we call back-end revenue. Most of us only look at this amount right here. Oh, 9 students, that only brought in $1,350. I spent $1,500 this month on my online marketing. Okay, but what about the residual revenue that's coming in because they signed up on 12-month agreements? Now, what if we can tweak this by 20%? Okay, so instead of converting at 30%, we convert at 50%. What does that look like? Well, instead of 9 students, that looks like 15 students. 30 leads times 50%, that's going to give us those 15. We take those 15 and we multiply by 150. Instead of the 1,350, we're now bringing in 2,250. That is a considerable increase just from the first month. But guess what? They're on 12-month agreements. Would I rather bring in 16,000 or would I rather bring in 27,000? I think that's a no-brainer. So then my question then becomes to you guys, can you improve by 20%? That's it. Can you improve by 20%? Whether that's improving the percentage from lead to appointment, improving the appointment to close, or the appointment to show, or improving the show to close. I know you guys can. And with the same amount of leads, with just a little extra effort, you can increase those conversions, which automatically will bring in more money. Okay? So this will make every lead more valuable. So what are we going to do to help? What are going to be these 5 action steps that I keep talking about? Okay? Well, it's about to be 2022. Can you guys believe that? I don't know. I just feel like this year completely flew by. You have got to make sure, guys, that you are text message marketing. And the cherry on top is being able to automate this with a picture text message. Okay? When you guys signed up for this webinar, what did you get? You got emails? You got text messages? And I'm pretty freaking proud of myself with this one, okay? Look at this. How many participants? There's 44 participants. Guess how many people registered? 48. Is that a good registration to show? I think so. Why? And guess what? I got an unsubscribe as well. I had one person unsubscribe. And I know that doesn't necessarily feel great, but to ensure that 44 of you were on here out of the 48, I'm okay with that. And my text messages are also picture text messages that you get, which pictures are just so much more fun. Okay? So you've got to make sure that you can leverage this text message automation. 98% of all text messages are open. Miss Naomi, thank you so much. Mr. Timmerman, thank you. And 95% of text messages are opened and responded to within 3 minutes of being delivered. Okay? So I don't know if I'm OCD, but sometimes I'll see like influencers on Instagram or celebrities on Instagram like screenshot a text message, and in the top left-hand corner, they have like 1,500 unread text messages. And that is just insane to me. None of us are influencers. None of us are celebrities. How often do you miss a text message, guys? You might not respond, but you ain't gonna miss it. Okay, so we've got to make sure we're leveraging that. And the cherry on top is automating the picture text message as well. Okay, US consumers are 5 times more likely to send and receive text messages than make phone calls. So you got to make this easy for your team. I think another huge frustration for our team as well, I'm not showing my screen again, I'm sorry guys, is that they don't know how many times the prospect has been texted, called, emailed, or how many voicemails have been left. Okay. Ideally, we want to be able to have a software or a tool that keeps all of that in one visual area for us. I know before utilizing the CRM that we had, we would use a Google spreadsheet. And literally the contact's name would be in there with all of their information. And we'd have a column for like first follow-up, second follow-up, third follow-up, fourth follow-up, fifth follow-up, so on and so forth. That is a pretty antiquated way to do it. And there are better ways, okay? We utilize a CRM. This is an actual screenshot that keeps all of the communication with that particular client in one spot. So you'll see at the top, this is a text message. There's a text back. And then you'll also see there's an email. So I can literally see, okay, we've had 2 text messages, we've had an email, and then there's another text message. And if I would have called him, you would see the little phone signal with the time and the date that I called. So literally all communication is in one specific area. And this just makes the lead follow-up game a little bit easier because you can see how often you are following up, whether it's automated or whether it's, manually done. And if you have multiple people on your team, right? Mr. Miller, he's got multiple people on his team. He's got, all of these incredible programs. Multiple people are doing follow-up. Well, how is person A supposed to know that person B called that person 3 days ago? Unless you have a very systemized way of keeping that data, okay? So ideal outcome, every lead gets an email and text within 30 seconds, and every lead is followed up with at least 7 times, at least, guys. That is the bare minimum. So these are your action steps. You being on this webinar is you being in motion, and I love it, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate those of you that are participating. But you got to take action now. So number 1, you need to leverage your marketing automation, but don't solely depend on it. Guys, even if it's just one text message that they get when they opt in, that's kind of like the bare minimum you need to have nowadays, okay? Step number 2, you need to have scheduled follow-up time on your program director's calendar daily, okay? Most of us have lead follow-up time that we require our team members to do. But oftentimes the follow-up is just on the most recent incoming leads from that day or that week. When do you have on your calendar for your team to sit down and pick up the phone and call leads from 4 weeks ago? Call leads from 8 weeks ago? Call leads from 12 weeks ago? Well, Chris, what do they say? Well, you got to have an offer. And what we teach at Maya is the 4 steps of selling. We give a step-by-step. This is what you do first. This is what you do second, third, and fourth. But you got to have a reason to call, guys. Okay? Next up for your action step, utilize database reactivation to turn future buyers into today buyers. I told you Halloween is a great opportunity for you guys to do this. It can't just be a one blast off if you're doing a holiday promotion. Minimum of 3 emails and 2 text messages, minimum, okay? Number 4, you gotta leverage tech automations, ideally with pictures, okay? It immediately puts a name to a face. So let's use the example. We know when people are searching for martial arts schools in their area, are they only checking out our school? Well, if you're the only competition in maybe 30 miles, for me, I can throw a rock and I can hit another BJJ school. So I know they're calling me and they're calling the other schools. Well, if one school just sends a text message automation that says, hey, thanks for checking us out, but my team has a text message of a picture of the coach that they would be potentially working with and introduces them, that puts a name to a face and it builds a better level of rapport. Okay. And then finally, you got to know your numbers, guys. Math is the path. Okay. Math is absolutely the path. I used to tell myself all the time, I'm not good at math. Well, then guess what? I'm not going to be good at math. You decided to be a business owner. Sorry, but math is part of being a business owner. And the schools that track this to the T, we have found are so much more successful in converting their leads. So if you don't know what your lead to appointment ratio is, your appointment to show and your show to close ratio, you don't get to tell me that you have a lead flow problem. You don't get to tell me that, oh, these leads aren't good. Prove it with your numbers. And I told you what you need to be aiming for. 50 to 60% of your leads get booked, 70% show, 80% close. And if you can just be 10 or 20% better than what the average school owner does, you're literally adding tens of thousands of dollars to your bottom line every single year. Okay. So I'd like to open it up for questions. If anybody has any. Clarissa, I don't have that problem since we have it in one place. What I can't get my team to understand is urgency. Any tips to fix that? How to fix urgency with your team? Well, I think clarity on what is the end result, right? Like what do we ultimately want to happen? And we could say, yes, we want to sign up the student, but I think it's much bigger than that, right? We all open these schools because we wanted to have an impact, okay? If you truly believe that your martial arts program can change somebody's life, if you truly believe that, how many of us truly believe that our programs can change people's lives? We wouldn't be here otherwise, guys. You wouldn't be investing that time. If you truly believe that, then your team is doing a disservice to the potential that that student has. Because if they're not immediately following up, and what I would do is I would have them watch this. This training isn't just for owners. I would have them watch the replay of this to show the difference between a 30% conversion versus a 50% conversion. I also think a discussion on how you compensate your employees is in there as well, right? Most sales positions, guys, what do they get? If you are in a sales position, what do you get? You get commission, right? Like that is kind of a standard with a sales job. Is your program director doing sales? Yes, they do other things, but they do have sales as a part of their job. So maybe looking at the compensation, I'm not necessarily saying you should do, a one-off sales commission. We actually use a sliding scale based off of the amount of revenue that we have come in. That dictates what our program director and what our head instructor's pay is. Because if the company is making more money and we're doing better, I want my entire team to do better. I want them to be motivated, right? Everybody says, oh, I can't find an employee to act like an owner. They don't act like me. They're not the owner. They shouldn't act like you. Can you incentivize them though? Sure, absolutely. Okay. Mr. Miller, what's CRM using to track this high level? Lead follow-up hours, call text between 9 and 9. We do 8 p.m. as the latest. Now that I have a son, I don't necessarily know if I want to be getting text messages after 8 p.m. That's for us though. I think anything later than 9 is way too late. Okay. I think you can really upset some people. We get leads all different hours. When is the best time to follow up? Yeah. So, I mean, if you get a lead at 10 o'clock at night, you're not going to be calling. All right. I think normal business hours starting at 9 a.m. is completely acceptable. But what if they're at work? So we actually find that our busiest call times are 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. And we know this because we track it in Google. So if you log into your Google My Business listing, it'll actually tell you when calls are coming in. Our highest call times where we're getting calls are 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. Why? Well, typically people are on lunch or they're off of work and at home. So we found that those are the two most ideal times. But I also think there's certain seasons, right? I know there's a lot of people that do after school here, right? You got a lot of parents that kind of wait until the very last minute to sign up their kid for after school. You need to be available during those prime times and be able to answer the phone as early as possible when it's time to really gear up for after school season. Okay. Awesome. What phone device do you use? Program director has a cell phone when her shift starts, or how do you handle that? Yeah, great question. So we use a cell phone. We have an iPhone. I know some schools use something like Grasshopper or Vonage, like an online phone. I personally love the ability that the iPhone has in regards to being able to go live on Facebook and on Instagram. Our phone stays at the facility with the exception if it's some form of prime time season and we need calls being made and going out, earlier than when their shift starts. But we just use a regular old iPhone that allows you to send. We don't do MIA calls, we do MIA videos. All right. You want to level that up. And you just can't do that with, something like Vonage or Grasshopper, or if you had a regular old landline. Okay. Great question, Ms. Vihill. Okay. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap up? You got your 5 action steps. Now I'm passing the ball to you. All right. Mr. McGraw, MIA calls, missing in action calls. So you should be taking attendance. Ideally, making it digital makes it super easy so you can run a report with your CRM. And then typically on Mondays, you pick up the phone and call, but we actually send video messages instead. We think the video is a lot more powerful to the child than a voicemail. Okay. All right, guys, those of you that are coming to the Maya event this week, I'm super stoked to see you guys. Really pumped. And I'm going to ask you guys this one favor. Okay. On Thursday, when my book releases, if I have ever provided you any form of value, I'm asking you to please purchase a copy. All right. We'll have it on Kindle and we also have it on paperback. I need to get like 166 sales in a 24-hour period to be considered an Amazon bestseller. And I think I've helped at least 166. I got 42 of you on here right now. So that is my ask for you. Because I just want to say I'm an Amazon bestseller. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Awesome. If you guys need anything, midgettwister@gmail.com is my email. The recording will go out tomorrow. And I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of your day. See you guys later. Bye-bye.